The silence before the storm.
You just interrupted the recording as it started. What is up, guys, and welcome to ASL Season 7 Post-Draft Rankings. Today I am joined with TCP and Brett.
Hello.
Hello.
Brett did nothing.
No, I just had to set up the slide and start playing the music, and that was when you decided, let's start speaking. Anyway.
I have the perfect timing.
First team we have here is T-Flight, aka Thunder Chicken, apparently. This is probably the one that we all considered the worst. I decided to give it an F ranking, the only F ranking in the drafts. It's just not very good at all. There's not a lot to like about this team. It's missing a lot.
Is this the only F ranking that's ever been given to any team?
No.
Did Shadow get an F ranking?
Yeah, last season I also gave Shadow an F ranking. But Shadow did pretty decently last season, so you might see something pretty decent from T-Flight here. He is an unorthodox coach, so maybe his double electric core will pull through. It just doesn't have a lot of things going for it.
It's not the double electric core, it's the triple trapping, or quadruple.
So many trapping options.
All of the trappings of core.
I'm a bit upset that he didn't pick up Magneton or something like that, but you know.
He has Probopass.
You're right, you know what? He does have the best Magnet Pullmon available on the team, but yeah, I can't really think of anything nice to say, really, just off the top of my head. I guess he's pretty good against offense builds with Zero Aura and Ambibomb or something, but other than that, I just don't really see the synergy here.
I don't either. It's very lackluster.
So, T-Flight is predicted to be the annual 1 in 12 coach of the season.
There always has to be one.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's a storied history we have at the ASL, a storied history of people just doing terribly. But anyway, we'll move on to the next lowest team, which is still a significant jump up at around a C ranking. We've got Shadow here.
Shadow improving his draft from last season, getting a solid C draft. It's not that great considering it's the second worst draft that we rated, but it seems to be better than the last draft he had. It has some bulk this time. It has some utility. It still kind of has a ground weakness, but we'll get over that.
It also has an ice weakness.
Very big ice weakness. Like he made his transactions and picked up 2 more ice weaknesses.
Yeah, the team post-draft was a lot better than the transactions that he made. He also picked up more ground weaknesses for no real reason, and you know, at least he does have Togekiss Serena as a resist core. And unlike the last team, he does have a Fairy Dragon Steel and even a Fire Water Grass to top things off. I feel like Mew is going to be super solid in this format because it's really hard to put together like team with all of the options that you need checked off, just because of how the tiers are set up. So I think Mew will really help compensate for that end. But yeah, it still is lacking in a lot of areas. Hopefully Volcarona can also just put in the work with Mamoswine. It's just less solid than most of the other teams that we've seen.
I would also like to state, Shadow drafted Mega Ampharos, which has deemed my stamp of the worst Mega in Draft League, hands down. Don't at me.
I'm gonna counterpoint and say that would probably be Mega Banette, but you know.
From my time using Mega Ampharos, I haven't really found success with it.
Yeah, not many people have.
I don't know. I never loved it.
It's not a good Pokemon. And especially when you already had the Dragauki and the Rotom, it's like a redundant pickup anyway. But yeah, we'll just move on now to Brad Anderson.
Anderson.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I mispronounced his name. It's just my thick accent. But now we're starting to get into the more solid teams. I think this is the only team that got, only other team that got any C rankings, and I think from now on they'll all B rankings.
I think there was a C+ coming up. But yeah, Brad got he picked up a lot of interesting mons, a lot of mons that I think were very valuable. For instance, Diggersby, Sylveon, Slowbro. Those are very nice, pretty bulky, pretty. Sometimes they run standards stuff, but usually they're very useful to have on a team. Very difficult to prep for. He has nice utility mons like Whimsicott and Scolipede. The only thing is that Scolipede as a tier A pick, it's not the most powerful thing I can imagine from his tier A's, and that's why I downsized his points. But I still give him a B. That's pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like his top end picks are on the weaker side of the tiers. Hydreigon is also one of the weaker tier A picks. And obviously the Sylveon Mega Steelix score is going to be something really frustrating to break along with the Slowbro. He does have some very good breakers to complement that as well, I should say, along with the Scolipede to deal with the offense. It's just that all of the picks are kind of underwhelming in their tier, except for stuff like the Diggersby and like the Slowbro. But yeah, outside of that, he's not getting as much value as he could have been getting out of his picks, and value is very important in this system. So I feel like that definitely brought him down a fair bit. He also does not have very good removal at all. Hydreigon and Whimsicott is not an ideal situation to be putting yourself into, especially when one of your best win cons is weak to rocks. You have anything?
Yeah, something that definitely needs to be patched up. He was I'm pretty sure he was planning on getting something other than Mega Steelix that probably would have worked a little bit better, seeing as how usually I've seen Mega Steelix being very underwhelming in draft. I've seen it do a lot better in other formats.
Yeah, I believe originally he was planning Mega Aggron or Mega Blastoise, so Mega Steelix is obviously not quite as nice to get as one of those, but still can definitely do the job that it needs to. Same level of bulkiness, it's just that the ground typing can leave it a little bit vulnerable to waters, etc. But yeah, moving on, we've got Ferret and the Philadelphia Flygons. This was last season's 1-12 coach, so I'm sure he's hoping to not get that again. I mean, he's drafted a really classic offense team from OU. I just don't know how well that's going to translate into Draft League. Megalophony, Blacephalon, Crawdaunt are all very predictable Pokemon. They're going to be doing the same kinds of things each week with slight variations. So I don't expect there to be a lot that he can do to catch his opponents off guard. It's also a very frail team outside of the Reuniclus and the Palisand and the Mantine that I could see getting pretty well exploited on the offensive side. Even though he does do very well against offense, I just imagine that bulky offense and balanced builds are going to present a real problem, especially with such a lacking Fairy Dragon Steel core behind him.
I do think that Ferret's team is... I think it's probably one of the first teams we've ever seen that is really going all in on the Fighting Dark Psychic core. And I think his Fighting Dark Psychic core is probably one of the best ones that I can think of comboing together, given the tiers and the restrictions that you already have going into the draft. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to seeing if he can show off the potential of that kind of core that we haven't really seen in the ASL before, I don't think.
I think that this team really fits him a lot better than last season's team did for him. And I'm really excited to see what he can do with it, because last season, from what I've seen him do, he's not really good with bulky offense teams like he had. But I think he really strives in hyper offense with what he has here.
Yeah, a lot of
hopefully
his Pokemon experience does come from the ladder, and he definitely loves the hyper offense there. So it definitely makes sense as a team for him. I imagine he'll be able to rock this quite well. It's just undeniably there are some flaws which do keep it down on the lower end still. But all of these teams are fairly close at this point, I feel personally. But moving on, we go to Cody, aka Daddy, which I feel
Daddy Heart.
I feel like the nickname should have been saved for Big Daddy Dave, personally. But
Oh, we Don't worry about Big Daddy Dave.
Just noticed the switch.
So Cody is our resident Mega Venusaur picker of this season. He has a lot of, I would say, before he changed some of his picks around to pick up Mega Venusaur, he was going like mono comfort picks, and now I think it's a lot of comfort picks plus Mega Venu, which is very scary, especially coming from Cody, who's probably one of the best coaches simply because he's very he's methodical in some senses, but he's unpredictable in the other sense. And I would say he's probably the scariest coach to predict at all, at anything, in any game that ever happened. So Cody is a very scary person. I think this team is something that specifically he could use above probably anyone else I know, but just based off the draft in general, it's pretty good, but it's not like the best thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I feel like it's very solid. The only thing is that I don't think it supports Mega Venu as much as I'd like to see on a Venu draft. Kabalion does hold back Mega Venu a little bit without having that good flying resist. It's going to make it easier for people to get momentum on the Venu if he doesn't have a reliable swap into the strong flying types. That being said, he does have pretty good answers to the Psychic types in Greninja and Latias, and even Frostlass to an extent, so he does support it fairly well. And obviously, it wasn't his original plan, it was a later pickup, so that means I don't think he's going to necessarily be relying on Venu's bulk too much, especially with the more offensive nature of a lot of his mons. So I don't really see that as being too big of a problem. I think it's very solid overall. Really good speed tiers, really good offensive and defensive cores. Just a really solid team, I feel.
It is a really solid team. Like you said before, he doesn't really have that support that Mega Venu really desperately needs. I initially liked his Thundurus pick better, just because I love Thundurus, and Venu, in my opinion, didn't really fit on the team in a way. But it's still a solid team. He can make it work based on how good he is in general.
Anyway, next up we have Brett Nubby, aka Nubbert.
Nubbert. Oh boy, my team.
The reason why he got high markings is because he drafted Wigglytuff and Licky Licky. So that's pretty much all you need to know about this team. Is there anything else?
I think Zygarde 50% is absolutely broken in this format, and the main reason is because all of the grass types are super expensive to get, or at least all of the good defensive ones, and being only able to draft 5 tier A's and B's is going to make it really difficult for anyone to fit good Zygarde answers on their team. And you've seen that he also drafted a fair few of the good ones like Gorgeist and Cresselia. So it's going to be very difficult for people to prep around this Zygarde. I feel it's going to be insanely good on the offense. He also has the Azu, which is once again going to be difficult to prep around. The team is, though, going to struggle with the bulky waters in general because he doesn't have any great water breakers, and a lot of his team kind of gets pivoted on by waters, like the Dam and the Azu. So that's kind of the only real area that I see him super struggling with. That and maybe a lack of good wish support for the Mega Aggron. But yeah, other than that, quite solid team.
I didn't really draft. My speed tiers are really low. Basically, there's a Selgor who's very high, and then all everyone else has to do is get above 105 with Electabuzz. So speed tiers aren't really that great with my draft, and I have a lack of reliable removal because of Honchkrow being pretty weak to offensive ice types. Well, ice in general, but ice is pretty common.
Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, next up we have Ian Altaria Motos here, and he's got a very solid team. Mega Latios Heatran is a fantastic core with Aromatisse being a nice budget fairy. I think it's a tier C fairy too, which just adds insane value for him. Then he's got a really solid pivot core with Mian Xiao, Crobat, Eel, and nice webs and good wall breakers as well. It just does all the things that he really needs it to do. Pretty good removal as well with Kamala and Crobat, etc. Just does, like, fills in all of the roles really nicely, and Mega Latios, Heatran, Aromatisse is just such a lovely core to see. It's really gonna do a lot of work. I feel like this is one of the best teams in the league for sure.
Yeah. Now that you explain it like that, I probably should have rated it higher. But yeah. Some of the things are weird, like Mian Xiao. It's weird in the sense that a fighting type was not something I would expect out of this for like one of his tier Bs. But I see he has like kind of comfort picks in something like Mian Xiao Crobat, because I know Ian very much likes his Volturn, and I very much know that he likes his banded Brave Birds. So Crobat is probably one of, if not the scariest mon to have banded Brave Birds coming at you.
I really like Ian's team. I think it fits him very well. A lot of the things that he has on here are things that I've seen him used fairly well in other leagues in the past, and I really think that it deserves a little bit of a higher ranking than what we give it. Of course, mostly B's and A's, but I do think it's mostly on the higher scale than a lot of the other drafts in there.
Although his one problem might be potentially bulky psychic types. He might have a hard time breaking those. But other than that, very good.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on, we have TCB, who's drafted quite the fat team here.
You scroll to the right. You see everything else.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, they were there the whole time. I didn't notice that. I think Ian might be in present mode, so you can't show that, but someone did a lot harder than I thought they did on this slide.
Yeah. Okay, they're all there. You can now see them. Don't know why, but regardless, let's go back to present mode. So yeah, he's got a very solid fat team that I imagine is going to do a lot of good work here just because of how good fat is. Selly Clefable is going to be very hard to break. Tentacruel is a nice bulky water in conjunction with Jelson, so that you have the more reliable one. Yuxi isn't necessarily the best bulky psychic to rely on just because it doesn't have reliable recovery, at least on a team like this, but he does have good wish support with Clefable to make up for that. Good hazards, not necessarily the best removal, relying on Tentacruel and Avalog, but he does support his offensive cores quite well just by putting up the pressure for the Mega Heracross and the Superior to do work. The biggest issue that I do see is Drampa. It's just not a good Pokemon.
Whoa.
Taking offense to that TCP.
I just would have liked to have seen maybe a tier C dragon, like maybe Dragon over it, or I think all the good dragons are in tier B though, right?
Yeah, pretty much all of them. Tier A and tier B is where I should have probably grabbed the dragon type, but Grandpa might come to like one game at least.
Hey, you do have
Don't feel bad, Grandpa. You'll do something.
You do have double
We'll do
water,
something.
which kind of compensates for the lack of a dragon type. But, you know, still a Drampa. Anyway, since none of you guys seem to have anything to say about this one,
Yeah,
You pretty much hit every point that there is to hit on that one.
let's move on to Vicious team. He's got pretty solid team, I'd say, but I'm not sure how much I like Finny with Garchomp. I feel like Finny pairs a lot better with other dragons like Zygarde over Garchomp. But you know, Garchomp's not the worst pairing for it. It's just that it will lead to him getting walled by more grass types and stuff like that than other Pokemon would have. But still a pretty solid core. Magnezone I also don't really like on a Fairy Dragon Steel. I'm just tearing this team apart. I'm sorry. It's a good team still. It's just the first things I'm seeing are more flaws than strengths, I guess, even though they're minor flaws. And the strengths are definitely very present. Garchomp Mega Pidgeot is a great core. He's got nice pivots with Incineroar, Mesprit, Magnezone as well. I love the Kangaskhan pickup as well as the Venomoth is going to be really nice to have as a sweeper. One that often flies under the radar but I feel is really solid, especially also setting T-Spikes as not necessarily the best T-Spike setter, but can put on the pressure with Sleep Powder, T-Spikes, etc. Yeah, that's pretty solid team.
So for me, something that I thought of immediately when looking at this team, and something I think of a lot of, is with a tier system like this, you have to make, or most of the time, the way you want to structure your team is so that it's pretty much, you want to be able to bring your tier A's and tier B's to have the ability to bring it pretty comfortably against pretty much every match. And I think Magnezone and kind of Incineroar are two mons that you don't really want to have to bring to most matches, or to every match. Magnezone pretty much in particular, because I think it's can be very niche in what it does. But I think that Vish last time, when he picked up Heatran, was pretty much fine with you working around the 4 times ground weakness. And I guess he wanted to pick up Magnezone because it's a mon that is very powerful in its special attack, especially with things like Analytic. And it can potentially do a lot more than we ever seen from it before, because I don't think we've ever had, I don't remember a team that used Magnezone effectively, but I think Fish is trying to be the first one to do it. I'm just not quite sure if Magnezone is the kind of mon that would pull it off.
This team loses a lot of points with the knowledge that Incineroar is a tier B. I did not know that. That's really stupid. But
I
Brett,
didn't think it was a tier B. This team isn't one that I would normally draft. I can see it working for him because he does like to work around those really niche things that have. It's like these mons that people don't normally use effectively, but I think Vish has the capability to use mons that a lot of people don't use really effectively. Like TCP said with Magnezone, that's a mon that you hardly ever see a lot of people using effectively. But Vish, I've seen some of his prep with Milan talking to me about it, and I like the things that he pulls out with that. It's one of his strong points is his prep.
Also, he drafted Kangaskhan, which someone here very much likes.
Yeah, I will admit that little plus sign is largely because of the Kangaskhan.
I didn't even notice that they put your logo as the Kangaskhan. When did that happen?
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's not important. Anyway, let's move on to Zombie. Zombie's got pretty classic Lando T Mega Charizard type of team with regen core, very standard type of build. The issue that I do see is that his removal isn't all that great to support it. He's going to be relying on running Defog on Lando more often than not, just because of the fact that his other removal is Hitmontop and Sandslash. Sandslash is a terrible Pokemon and should probably not be drafted ever, in my opinion, at least not on a team that already has a Landorus.
Unless it's an Alolan Sandslash.
Yeah, Alolan Sandslash I can see. Maybe as a budget pick on a Sand team I can see. But regardless, Lycanroc Dusk is also a really nice pick on this team. It's just that it's stacking a lot of physical threats at this point. Gardevoir is kind of his only good specially offensive Pokemon. And then the speed tiers aren't the best, going from 100 to 110, but then not past that. I like to have, I guess Zebstrika's there, but I like to have something good that hits above 110. But yeah, really good defensive core, really good setup sweepers, so he shouldn't have a problem with breaking physical ones anyway. So yeah, it should still be good. I still like this team, just not quite as much as some of the lower teams.
Yeah. He picked up Amoonguss Alamomomomomomola, and I think that in itself is quite a value pick for a defensive core, because something that he can do potentially for a lot of games is he can just rely on Amoonguss and Alamomomola for his. That's pretty much all he needs for bulk, and then he can just run offense for everything else. He doesn't really have the offense that he might want. Like Kofagrikus is threatening offensively. Zard and Lando are threatening offensively. Gardevoir is threatening offensively. Everything else is, or I guess Lycanroc's there. Never mind. He has pretty good offensive stuff that he compares with that. But like, I think this could be a bit better, with like better hazard removal potentially, and without Hitmontop, because Hitmontop's trash.
Yes, Hitmontop is also trash. I should have mentioned that as well, honestly.
I feel like his team it's really relying on that defensive core that he has. His offensive Mons are Mons that really they're good in the right situations, but if they don't have that defensive support, then they're not really going to do anything. And I think that Amoonguss and Alamomola will really help with that because of their bulk and their regenerator, and then the wish support from I can't even say that name. Like, there's so many Ololos in there that it's I don't even know. But I think the wish support from Alamomola. Okay, I'm gonna stop saying.
It's pronounced
almond butter.
Just call it almond butter from now on.
So almond butter here. I think it's gonna really rely on that wish support from our pink fish here.
Yeah, I agree for sure. Anyway, next up we have Large Father David, aka Daddy Heart. The original Daddy Heart, by the way. You guys jacked my shit on that one. He's got a really fun offensive build. I think it's going to be very difficult for people to defend against Mega Mighty Weavile in this format. Gengar, Rabombi is going to be super good support as well, just Gengar breaking through a lot of the things for them, and web support is obviously fantastic, as well as just having that Quiver Sweeper. Goodra and Seismitoad are going to be doing a really good job of just being those sponges. You know, usually they're not the best defensive Pokemon to rely on by any stretch of the imagination, but when you're expecting games to end as quickly as you would with a Mega Mighty Weavile team, it's not necessarily the worst thing. There are definitely a lot of holes in this team, just from the fact that his Steel type is a Alolan Dugtrio, and his Fairy type is Rabombi. You know, he still has really good offensive cores, and I think that's going to be enough to just out-threaten a lot of drafts and just pick up wins that way.
Yeah. With very, very offensive drafts like this, it usually heavily depends on the coach who drafts it, because if you don't do everything perfect with this kind of draft, you're going to lose a lot of games based on matchup, because you have nothing that's going to take any hits really. Any fast wall breaker, any scarf wall breaker, I'm thinking something like a Diggersby would run through this team, off the top of my head. I think he tried, or no, I want to say he tried. He succeeded in getting maybe just enough bulk to put it together. I think Golbat patches up a lot of things. I think Goodra patches up a lot of things. I think Seismitoad patches up a lot of things. I don't think Golbat's a mon that you want to rely on, so his ground switching is always going to be kind of iffy, because do you really want to bring a Golbat on such an offensive team? I mean, it's U-turn support, but still a Golbat. And he drafted a literal dick in Combustion. So...
Hey, speed pass is speed pass, man. But yeah, I definitely agree with all that you said there. I think the biggest trap that he will potentially fall into is a reliance on those patches rather than just bringing what the team is supposed to do and just going balls to the wall offense. But yeah, he's a good coach, so hopefully he won't fall into that trap too many times. Brett, you got anything to add?
I don't think I can say anything right now.
Fair enough.
TCP, you broke me.
Now, these teams, we did say that these teams were ordered by best, but now we're just harping on all the bad things the more as we go in.
Well, in fairness...
we peaked at Ian, and now we're destroying all of these drafts.
Yeah, a lot of the people who ranked these drafts higher weren't here, and, so like Malone, Bash, Ferret, like, brought this draft's average ranking up, which is why it's higher up in the slides than someone like Ian's, who I rated higher, but everyone else didn't. But yeah, moving on, we have the Lord and Savior Bash. NPL Miners coach Bash is here with a nice Mega Gallade Taunt team. A lot of threats here. Mega Gallade is a fantastic Pokemon in the format. It's one of the top 3 Megas, probably. It's just so good offensively, and it's going to be very difficult for a lot of teams to have the necessary Pokemon to defend against it, especially with Crocodile backing it up for those Psychics. He doesn't have a Fairy Dragon Steel Core to speak of at all, so it is going to be unorthodox in that sense that it's going to be weaker to a fair few things. His water type is also Blastoise, so on the lower tiers for a lot of the like usual core things that you need to pick up. But I think the things that he did pick up are extremely solid, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. He's got really solid speed tiers, a lot of good threats. Not great removal, but very solid hazard setters at the very least in Celebi and Crocodile. And Celebi also is going to be a very good baton passer for Mega Gallade, for Taunty, for Salazzle even. So I feel like this team has a lot of good offensive presence that is going to carry it through, even through its holes.
Yeah, this team has a lot of things that are very strange to look at, simply because, this is a bad explanation, but Mega Gallade is always kind of weird mon to see in draft in Torn T. I think they're usually very good, but they're kind of overshined by a lot of other tier A's. So I think Bash wants to kind of abuse some things that were not very shown off, except they were shown off a lot last season because TJ's team was based around Mega Gallade and Ian used Torn T fantastically. But this team, now I'm looking at it, 2 moves kind of mess this team up, and those are U-turn and knockoff. Not a lot of things like to take a U-turn, not a lot of things like to take a knockoff. So that's a big oof for this team. But other than that, there's a lot of mons that I'm very excited to see use, like Crocodile, Celebi, Snorlax, Jolteon, Salazzle, Doublade,
You're just saying them.
Tornadus. Yeah, I'm just saying everything except for Frogadier.
Yeah, Frogadier is not a Pokemon this gen.
Yeah.
I think this team has a lot of potential. I've always really liked the support that Volbeat and Celebi can provide. It's Celebi's just one of those mons that are so versatile that it can do just about anything. It can be a sweeper. It can be a nice, like, not wish. I don't think it's wish. It can be a nice cleric. It can be a nice hazard setter. It can be just about anything. I think that this team has the support it needs, but it just needs the right execution from Bash.
Yeah.
Oh, also, this is the only trick or baton pass team, and baton pass is cool. So, yeah,
I
that's
feel
a
like
cool
there was
team.
some more baton pass, like the Scholar P team probably, and Dave had Combuskin.
Yeah, but
Combustion.
like this has Volbeat and Celebi.
That's
So.
true. That's true. You got me there. Anyway, moving on, we've got Malone. I'm not sure why he's called Big Chungus. Maybe one of you guys can enlighten me on that one.
Brett, you want to do that?
So I was the one that called him Big Chungus.
Okay.
Just to call him Big Chungus. There's no real reason there.
I guess it is the meme of the week, so makes sense. Anyway, you know, this is a Coco Laddie team. That's always very good pairing to see there. Mega Gyarados is also a very solid sweeper with Coco pivots. Rose Raid is a fantastic Pokemon that I love to death. Rotom Heat, though, is a questionable pick. This is when the draft starts to go a little bit downhill. I don't get the second electric type in Rotom. It doesn't really feel necessary. It means that he has to go for a weaker steel in Steelix. He could have gotten a nicer steel, I feel, like Bronzong or something like that. But instead
He wanted Bronzong initially. I think he got sniped.
Okay, that figures. Lycanroc Day is an interesting pick to pair up with it. A lot of solid things here. It fulfills most of the things that it needs to. The biggest issue, though, is Steelix and Lycanroc are your rockers. And Steelix being a steel type obviously means that you're going to be pressured to bring some of your lower tier Pokemon more often. But that being said, everyone has to do that because you only have 5 top tier Pokemon anyway, so I guess that's not as big of a deal as I'm making it out to be. Licky Licky is a great one here as well, just for the extra fat. Just a very solid offense build for sure.
This is a team that's very interesting. I think this is something that Malone. There's a big aspect of this team is going to be when to Mega Evolve Mega Gyarados, because all of his tier C's are fighting weak. So he has 5 fighting weak Mons when Mega Gyarados is Mega Evolve. So that's something you need to look out for. But in a way, it's a blessing, because if you get it right and you don't Mega Evolve when they're trying to kill you with a fighting move, then you potentially get free setup. But then also you can potentially not get free setup if they predict you and then they go for the AP Electric, and then it's a big deal because you have like Electric Terrain up that you set up yourself. It's kind of weird. But like, I think a lot of this team just looks good. Just first glance looks good. I can't say there's any Mon that I would dislike other than Mischievous, but like that's a tier D pick, and some of those Mons just don't exist. So as long as Malone doesn't bring Mischievous, I think he'll be fine. I think, yeah, that's my opinion.
That's a good opinion.
Best opinion.
I like that one.
Before he made his transactions after the draft, his bulk was relying a lot on Mega Gyarados. He didn't have Licky Licky before he brought that in. I don't remember what he had specifically, but
There's another normal pick. I think it was like Ambipom.
no, I don't think it was
I need
Ambipom.
to go check now.
Cincinnati, maybe.
Someone
Yeah,
here
it
did
was
transactions.
Yeah, because
Hey.
it was
Cincino is a lot like Ambipom.
Yeah.
But anyways, his bulk was relying a lot on Mega Gyarados and Steelix there, and I think him adding Licky Licky to the mix there provided him that wish support that he needs, and it also provides him with the fat that he desperately needed with his offensive build that he has.
Yeah. Okay. So next we have TJ. I love the caption there. For those of you who don't know, Milan drafted this largely because TJ couldn't make most of the draft. He had to leave like 5 or 6 plans, and I like this one the best, I feel.
This is the second time that the best team of the season was kind of influenced by someone who's not even a coach. Because last season it was legit, and now this season it's Milan.
No, this is all him. he gave me his plan, and he made like pretty much all these decisions himself. Maybe Milan chose which plan to go with, but he was tossing up Mega Aero or Mega Venu plans, I believe. And he decided to go with Mega Aero because at tier B it's such good value. But yeah, Kieran Black, Metagross, and Slurpuff for the budget steals and fairies is really nice. Infernape and Kieran Black is just such a nice offensive core as well. Milotic is just such a splashable Fatmon in conjunction with Metagross and Slurpuff to fill that kind of issue as well. I'm not sure I like Gligar being the only ground type though. I like to either have a high tier ground type or at least not a low tier ground type that's 4 times weak to something. If I can, something like Palisand or Pyrosign is better in my opinion. But yeah, a lot of good value picks like Garbodor, Vigavolt, Ordino as well. Just a lot of solid Pokemon. I'm not sure why I ranked this one B+ in hindsight, and I feel like this definitely is one of the A- teams. I feel like I probably did rank it A-, I don't know. But regardless, very solid team.
My issues with this team is Slurpuff, because it is a Slurpuff, and I think Slurpuff always disappoints as a fairy. Unless you're planning on always getting that belly drum off for some reason. But then everyone, if you do it once, then everyone's paranoid about it, but then, never mind. There's a whole loop for Slurpuff. But, like, the best Slurpuff set is the ones that, like, no one expects. So, off the top of my head, the ones that I know is, like, the Swirlix set, which is the Focus Sash Endeavor, and the Calm Mind set. So, but now I just said it here, so...
no one's
Your
watching, no one is watching this far except for the people whose teams have been revealed. So don't even worry.
No one's watching this far except for the people who want some advice from Exit Name on how to beat their opponent.
Everybody's just using EN to get their victory.
Well, a big problem here is that he drafted Alolan Raticate. I think he went crazy, and yeah, I think that brings his team down from an A+ to an A.
Really? I'm a big fan of Alolan Raticate personally.
Alolan Raticate on a team with Kieran Black, Audino, Aerodactyl, with all your tier A's and B's being neutral to fighting types, even though one of them's a psychic type and one of them's a flying type.
No, by big fan I mean it's a good meme that never has to be brought and never should be brought, but probably better as a meme than anything else that he could have added. But yeah, my biggest qualm is, like you said, Slurpuff isn't the best fairy. It's good for the budget, which is what you kind of need to. You need to make sacrifices in this format. So yeah, I still do like that. Anyway, you got anything to add, Brett?
I think this is one of those teams that are very, very scary when you look at it. Especially with that value pick in Mega Aerodactyl. It's just one of those really fast mons that just hits everything hard. It's one of those mons that you can feel comfortable with running not necessarily the same set every week, but one of those sets that have like 3 attacking moves that can just run basically through anybody's team based on its coverage that it has. I think Mega Aerodactyl is going to be a real staple in this team, potentially maybe kill leader from what I can see. On not of the entire ASL. I'm just saying on his team specifically.
I don't know. TJ's never been very good at getting kill leaders. I mean, he only did it with like Mo and Cloyster.
Well, I mean for his team, like out of his whole team, that's probably going to be the one that has the most kills on his team.
I think it would probably be Infernape more so than Mega Aero personally. But yeah, both are very good high skill ceiling Pokemon. And TJ, if he's putting the time into prep, will be able to succeed a lot with them. But yeah, I believe that is the last team here, so that wraps up the video. Wow.
Little before you know, the secret 15th draft of the new commissioner. Bigger Chungus.
Bigger Chungus. What happened to Birdie, though?
No, the biggest meme of, or the 15th draft from the biggest meme the guy named Meme in the ASL. Soon to be gone if there's ever an activity check. Now imagine if we upload this after an activity check. How embarrassing would that be?
Yeah,
But
who is Meme? I've never seen that person in my life.
It's
I have no clue.
I think he came in and talked for like 15 minutes and plugged his Discord and then just left.
Ah, yeah. That's a classic move. Anyway, we should stop rambling in this video. See you guys next time. I believe week 1 power rankings should be out when exactly?
Sometime this weekend.
Yeah, okay. So see you guys for that. This weekend, of course, being next weekend if it's a Sunday for you guys, but it actually probably isn't. Regardless, bye.